When I was 17, I came home to an empty house. No warning, no explanation, just a note on the counter. You're on your own. That was how my family disappeared. 12 years later, after I built my life without them, they came back, not to apologize, but because they needed something from me. My name is Mia, average height, slim, long dark hair I usually tie back when I'm stressed. People always said I looked calm, even when I wasn't. Maybe that's why they thought I'd be fine alone. That day, the silence hit me first. No TV, no footsteps, no voices. Then I saw it, a single sheet of paper on the kitchen counter. You're on your own. I didn't cry, not at first. I just stood there, reading it over and over, like the words might rearrange themselves into something less cruel. They didn't. I checked every room, closets empty, drawers cleared, even the family photos were gone. It wasn't sudden. They planned this. My hands started shaking when I realized something worse. They didn't forget me. They left me. I ran next door and knocked hard. Mrs. Carter opened the door halfway. She was in her late 50s, short, as with graying hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She always watched the neighborhood like it was her job, but never got involved. Mia, she said, surprised. Did you see my family leave? Her eyes flickered, just for a second. They left this morning, she said quietly. Thought you knew. And just like that, she closed the door. That was the moment it became real. I wasn't just alone, I was abandoned. I called Lily next. Lily Parker, 17, blonde, messy bun, always smiling too big like she was trying to fight off something inside. She was the only person who ever felt like home. You can stay with me, she said immediately. No hesitation. That night, lying on her couch, staring at a ceiling that wasn't mine, I realized something I couldn't ignore anymore. They didn't just leave. They made sure I had nothing to come back to. The first night at Lily's house felt safe, but temporary. Her mom didn't ask questions, which somehow made it worse. By the third day, I knew I couldn't stay. I packed my small backpack and left before sunrise, telling Lily I'd be fine. I wasn't. I found a storage facility on the edge of town, cheap, quiet, invisible. The manager barely looked at me when I paid cash. That's how my new life started, in a metal box that smelled like dust and old cardboard. During the day, I walked for hours looking for work until I found a diner. That's where I met Rick Dawson. He was in his early 40s, broad-shouldered, always wearing a stained apron, with a rough voice that sounded like he'd yelled his whole life. People said he used to be in the military, which explained the discipline and the short temper. But he watched people closely. He could tell who was lying and who was just trying to survive. You ever wait tables? He asked. I shook my head. He sighed, then handed me an apron. You start tonight. Don't mess it up. That job saved me. I worked late shifts, ate leftovers when no one was looking, and pretended I had somewhere to go after closing. At night, inside my storage unit, I used my phone and free Wi-Fi from a nearby cafe to watch design tutorials. It felt pointless sometimes, but it gave me something to hold on to. There was also a man who came into the diner twice a week. I never learned his name. Mid-50s, tall, gray hair, always in a clean suit, quiet but observant. He never smiled, but he always left a tip that was too big to ignore. One night, I realized something. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was learning how to disappear and how to rebuild from nothing. I didn't notice the shift at first. Life still felt like survival, long shifts, short sleep, constant hunger, but something small began to change. It started with the man in the suit. One night, after I served him like any other customer, he didn't leave right away. You're not just a waitress, are you? He asked. His name was Daniel Brooks, mid-50s, tall, lean, silver hair, neatly combed, always composed. He had the kind of calm confidence that made people listen without him raising his voice. Later, I learned he used to run a mid-sized consulting firm before stepping back after a health scare. That explained the way he observed everything. I hesitated, then told him I was learning design. He didn't smile, but he nodded. Bring me something you've made next time. That was it. No promises. But it was the first time someone saw something in me. A week later, I showed him a few rough designs on my phone. He studied them longer than I expected. They're not polished, he said, but you learn fast. 2 days later, he offered me a temporary job organizing digital files for a small office, he advised. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid more than the diner. Walking into that office felt like entering another world. That's where I met Chloe Adams' early 20s, sharp eyes, always dressed in clean, minimal outfits, the kind of person who spoke fast and worked faster. She looked me up and down once and asked, "You went to design school?" When I said no, her expression said everything. Still, I showed up early, stayed late, and asked questions no one else bothered to answer. Around the same time, Lily called me. She was moving away with her family. "I'm sorry," she said. I told her it was okay. It wasn't. That night, back in my storage unit, and I opened my laptop and took my first freelance job online. It paid almost nothing, but it was mine. For the first time, I saw a way out. New York didn't welcome me, it tested me. I arrived with one suitcase, a secondhand laptop, and just enough savings to survive a few months. Brooklyn was loud, crowded, and expensive, but it was the only place I could afford. My apartment was barely a room-thin walls, flickering lights, and a window that faced a brick wall. Still, it was mine. No storage unit, no hiding, just a beginning. I spent my days chasing freelance clients and my nights working until my eyes burned. That's when I landed my first major client, a small startup rebranding their entire image. It felt like everything depended on it, and then I almost lost it. The founder didn't trust me. "You don't have a portfolio, no degree, no references," he said over a call. His name was Ryan Keller, early 30s, tall, athletic build, sharp jawline, always sounded impatient, and like time was something he couldn't waste. He'd built his company from nothing, which made him skeptical of everyone. I understood that. I convinced him to give me one chance, one design. If he didn't like it, I'd walk away unpaid. I worked for 48 hours straight. When I sent it, I didn't sleep. I just waited. He replied with one sentence, "This is exactly what we needed." That project changed everything. More clients came, more work, more pressure. One afternoon, rushing between meetings, I collided with someone outside a courthouse. Papers scattered everywhere. "Watch it," he said sharply. His name was Ethan Cole, mid-30s, tall, lean, always in a perfectly fitted suit, dark hair, calm but intense eyes. He was a corporate lawyer, known for being precise and impossible to read. We gathered the papers in silence before he added, "You move like you're being chased." I didn't answer, but he wasn't wrong. For the first time, though, I wasn't just running away. So I was running towards something I was building myself. I didn't plan for my story to go viral. It started as a small interview, just me, sitting across from a podcast host, talking about survival, about rebuilding from nothing. I didn't even mention names, but something about it spread. Within days, my inbox was flooded with messages from strangers who saw themselves in me, and then buried between them was one email that made my hands go cold. The subject line read, "We miss you." It was from Jason, my younger brother. Jason was 15 when they left me, now he was 27. Growing up, he had always been quiet, skinny, with messy brown hair and eyes that avoided conflict. He followed our parents more than he questioned them. That hadn't changed much. His message was short, almost hesitant. "I saw your interview. I think we need to talk." I stared at it for a long time before closing my laptop. 12 years, not a single word, and now this. 2 days later, another email came, this time from my mother. Her name was Karen, early 60s now, elegant even in old photos, always composed, always controlling the room without raising her voice. She sent pictures, me as a child, birthday parties I barely remembered, moments that felt edited, like she was trying to rewrite history through images. "We made mistakes," she wrote. "We want to fix things." That was the first time I felt something crack inside me. Not forgiveness, not anger, just confusion. So I did something I never thought I would do. I called a therapist. Dr. Miller, late 40s, soft-spoken, with kind eyes and a steady voice that didn't push, didn't judge. His office was simple, quiet, the kind of place where silence felt safe instead of heavy. "You don't owe them a response," he told me, "but you owe yourself clarity." That night, I opened Jason's email again. My cursor blinked in the empty reply box. For the first time in years, my past wasn't behind me anymore. It was knocking. I didn't respond to Jason right away. Instead, I waited, watched, listened. Then one afternoon, I received a message from someone I didn't expect. Hi, I'm Emily, Jason's wife. Can we talk? Emily Carter, early 30s, tall, slim, with soft brown hair always tucked neatly behind her ears. She had a calm presence, the kind that made people feel safe, but there was something firm in her eyes, like she didn't tolerate dishonesty. When we met at a quiet cafe, she didn't waste time. I only found out the truth recently, she said. Jason told me you ran away, that you cut them off. My chest tightened. She slid her phone across the table. That's not what happened, is it? What I saw made my hands go cold. Old social media posts. My mother writing about her troubled daughter who disappeared. My father claiming I stole money before leaving. Photos of them looking concerned, asking for prayers, pretending to search for me, all dated years after they abandoned me. They didn't just leave me. They rewrote the story. I confronted them, Emily continued quietly. They admitted it, said they had to protect their image. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. Something inside me shifted. Not pain this time, but clarity. That night I went home and searched deeper. More posts, more lies, comments from people offering sympathy. A whole narrative built without me. Then came Jason's next message. Longer this time. He talked about financial struggles, medical bills, responsibilities piling up. Things have been really hard, he wrote. There it was. Not just guilt, not just regret. Something else. I stared at the screen, remembering Dr. Miller's words, clarity. This wasn't about reconnecting. Not entirely. This was about need. And for the first time, I wasn't confused anymore. I understood exactly what I was dealing with. The messages didn't stop. They escalated. At first it was emails, then calls from unknown numbers, then silence, followed by something worse, watching. One night, I noticed a car parked across the street from my apartment. Engine off, lights out. It stayed there for hours. I didn't need proof. I knew. I called Ethan. He arrived within 30 minutes, still in his suit, tie slightly loosened, eyes sharper than I'd ever seen them. Ethan Cole wasn't just calm anymore. He was focused, controlled anger, the kind that made him precise. Like, we're not handling this alone, he said. The next morning, I sat in his office, a clean, glass-walled space overlooking the city. He walked me through everything: documentation, evidence, timelines. We build a case, like he said. We don't react, we respond. Within days, he filed for a restraining order. And it felt surreal, turning my own family into a legal threat. Meanwhile, Jason called again. This time his voice was different, less defensive, more uncertain. Mia, I didn't know everything, he admitted. I didn't answer right away. He continued explaining how Emily had confronted him, how things at home were falling apart, how he was starting to question everything he'd been told for years. It wasn't an apology yet, but it was the beginning of doubt. Then Emily showed up at my door. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, her hair loosely tied, holding her young daughter, Lily, 3 years old, small, with curly hair and wide, curious eyes. I didn't know where else to go, Emily said quietly. She explained that my parents had started showing up unannounced, pressuring Jason, pushing harder for money, refusing to leave. I'm scared for her, she added, glancing at Lily. That's when something inside me shifted again. This wasn't just about me anymore. That night, and as I signed the final papers with Ethan, I realized something clearly for the first time. I wasn't the powerless girl they left behind. And this time I wasn't going to run. The final meeting wasn't dramatic, it was quiet, controlled on my terms. We met in a public conference room inside Ethan's firm, a neutral space with glass walls and witnesses nearby. Ethan stood beside me, composed as always, his presence steady and unshakable. Across the table sat my parents. They looked older, smaller than I remembered. Time had caught up with them in ways denial never could. My father tried to speak first, but I didn't let him control the moment. This is the last time, I said calmly. My voice didn't shake. I laid everything out what they did. The lies, the manipulation, the threats. No anger, no raised voice, just facts. My mother cried quietly, but I didn't feel pulled in anymore. I wasn't that girl. When I finished, I stood up. There's no future here, I said. Only distance, and I walked away. That was the end. Not closure the way people imagine it, but something stronger: freedom. Life didn't magically become perfect after that, but it became mine. I poured everything into my work, expanding my freelance business into a full agency. We grew fast design, branding strategy. Ryan became one of my long-term clients, then a partner on bigger projects. Chloe eventually respected me not because I asked for it, but because I earned it. And Ethan stayed, not just as a lawyer, but as someone who understood silence, boundaries, and strength. Jason took longer. His apology didn't come in one moment. It came in pieces. Calls, conversations, accountability. He cut ties with our parents completely. It wasn't easy, but it was real. Emily remained steady through all of it, still calm, still honest, protecting her children first. Lily, now older, louder, fearless, started calling me Aunt Mia like it had always been true. Sunday dinners became a ritual. Simple, warm, consistent. Laughter in a space that used to be silent. For the first time in my life, family wasn't something I survived. It was something I chose. And this time it chose me back. Do I forgive them or cut them off forever? Family by blood or family by choice? They came back for love or for money. Do I heal by forgiving or protect myself by walking away? If you were me, what would you choose?